Good evening. Welcome to the CCHW Real News Network on this Inauguration Eve. You know, it's hard to believe, but there's 26,000 National Guard troops in Washington, D.C. right now in order to protect President-elect Joe Biden and the inaugural ceremonies tomorrow. You know, that's more than 5 times the active troops that we have in Afghanistan and Iraq today combined. And it's twice as many troops, more than twice as many, as Lyndon Baines Johnson sent to Washington, D.C. in April of 1968 after the assassination of Martin Luther King. You know, riots were running rampant at that time. I mean, they were burning the city down. They burned down several square blocks of Washington, D.C. Now, why do you think the Democrats are so paranoid? This seems like an overreach, a way over-the-top reaction. They've walled off with fencing and barbed wire the entire city of D.C., Washington, D.C. They have concrete barriers all over the place. Now, one thing I can assure you of, this is a statement. This is a statement of power and force to you and to me that they are in charge, and we better watch our P's and Q's. Now, according to Steve Cohen, Democratic House Representative from, of all places, Tennessee, he said on CNN that it has been determined that only 25% of the male white population of the United States voted for Joe Biden. And to his mind, I mean 75% of probably the National Guard, because he thinks the majority of the National Guard is white, evidently, and he doesn't trust them. Shortly after this statement, the Democrats demanded that the National Guard members be vetted, which has happened, and they've gone through their social media, they've checked their pictures, they've checked their communications, in the fear that the National Guard from all these different states would have a propensity towards revolting against Biden. I don't know. To add fuel to the fire and to document this a little bit, he's on film, or on audio. I didn't see a video, but I heard the audio of the commander of the Puerto Rican National Guard who sent troops to Washington, D.C. He was speaking to his troops, and he told them, "You're going to be facing the Proud Boys in D.C." Can you imagine that? Now, on top of that, another story broke. Actually, it's been around for a while, but it came to the surface yesterday. It was reported on by TMZ that Biden has hired his own protection private agency, which is being paid by you and me with tax dollars. So he doesn't trust the 26 or so thousand National Guard troops. He doesn't trust the D.C. police, the FBI. I don't blame him a little bit about the FBI. And then also today it was announced that he has brought in, or the Democratic Party, I guess, has brought in around 1,600 regular duty troops to make sure that there isn't any insurrection, I guess, within the National Guard, and they revolt against the Biden. I don't know why. I mean, they have to know, folks. You know, and I know that Trump supporters are not going to riot in D.C. for the inauguration. I mean, more evidence comes out every day that the incident that happened at the Capitol on January 6th was that group was infiltrated. It happened before Trump even finished his speech, and the group was infiltrated by rioters, Antifa, and so what's going on here? I mean, there's something very strange happening. I mean, I know this is scary times in this country, but this is what we're watching the last couple of days in D.C. is very mind-boggling to me. Today, it was reported by thehill.com, and then I actually saw a video of Mitch McConnell, the head of the Republican Party in the Senate, that he said Trump incited the riots on January 6th. I mean, he stated that the President of the United States instigated what we saw happen at the Capitol. And at the same time, there's video being played over and over again on networks such as Newsmax and others that show Trump said, hey, we're going to peacefully march down there and patriotically show that we aren't happy about what happened. That's not inciting a riot, friends. Now, here's a little insight on Mitch McConnell, who, you know, this is kind of surprising too. His wife was actually a cabinet member in the Trump administration this whole 4 years, and we never heard a peep out of her about thinking there was anything wrong with Trump. But today, Mitch McConnell stated that the president incited these. Well, you check in a little bit to these two, and they are bought and paid for by the Chinese government. In a report by New America, and they're reporting on a work by Peter Schweitzer, who is a senior editor at Breitbart News, but he's also, for years and years, very well-known, respected author, and he's written many books exposing corruption within politics. And Schweitzer says that McConnell's wife is, her corporation has many contracts, big money going on with China, and McConnell has received a lot of donations. So I wonder if that has any bearing on the fact that he's willing to toss the President of the United States under the bus. You know, it's amazing. You talk about the confusion that's going on out there, and one of the most mysterious things is the slogan, Make America Great, or Make America Great Again, is not acceptable. It's not acceptable a goal for this country. You talk about confusion. I mean, the President of the United States, is, along with a lot of other powerful, important people, have been kicked off of Twitter and other social media accounts. Parler has been deplatformed in this last week. They have 4 million subscribers. They were just cut off. It's amazing. One of the other confusing things that's going on out there is retired Air Force Colonel Mo Davis. You may have heard of Mo. I believe he ran Guantanamo, where they put the terrorists for a couple of years. He called for a domestic war on sedition by American terrorists. Now, do you know who that is? Friends, that's anybody out there that thinks this election was rigged and that there was something wrong with it, and we need to back up and do something different. That's you and me, probably. I know it's me. And then in the Daily Beast, it's a liberal publication, they called for a spy agency or secret police similar to that exists in Russia and China. Can you imagine? Confusion is everywhere. There's a congresswoman out of New York. Her name is Grace Mang, and she just sponsored a bill. Now get this, to outlaw the purchase or possession or ownership of body armor. I mean, you can't hurt anybody with body armor. It's protection. And you know what's really even scarier than that, if anything could be, is that the same legislation would outlaw you from owning a helmet or face guard of any kind that would protect you from being shot in the head by a bullet. Now, why would they do that? It's confusion. Sheila Jackson Lee, you might have heard of her. She's a representative out of Texas, and she sponsored a bill recently to require a license from the government in order for you to own ammunition. What? They want you to get a license just to buy some 22 bullets for your 22 or other ammunition for your weapon for protection? I mean, really? Now, over the last 4 years, maybe even longer, since he was running, Trump has been cast as a racist. You've heard it. Yet, at the same time, they have been hammering him year after year. He's a racist. He hates Hispanics. He hates blacks. Trump got a higher percentage of black and Hispanic vote in the November election than any Republican has ever received before. There was no blue wave. You know, before the election we were told by the media over and over again that there was this blue wave, it was going to be a landslide, Trump didn't have a chance. Well, you know, the fact of the matter is there was no blue wave. The Republicans killed it in the House and the Senate. And you know what? Trump got more votes than Obama got in either one of his elections. And then they expect us to believe that Biden got more votes than Trump? Really? Now, another very confusing thing that's going on, you've heard that there's problems. They've attacked the NRA. The NRA may be filing for bankruptcy, move out of New York, go to Texas, which would probably be a good thing. But at the same time, they're attacking the NRA since Memorial Day. Think about this. Since Memorial Day, almost 90% of all the people that were arrested on gun charges for crimes done involving with guns involved in the city of New York, those people have been released. They're out on the street again. And speaking of gun crimes, you know, Kamala Harris, our soon-to-be, I guess, vice president, donated to and supported groups that worked to bail out violent protesters across this nation for the last 7 months. Now, one of the voices of calm and reason that I listen to, I would recommend him to anybody, is Rush Limbaugh. And today on Rush Limbaugh's show, he got a call, and he was asked, he said, what is there that we have to look forward to that might hold off this attack upon us from the communist side of things? What could we look forward to that could save our Constitution, that could save this country? And not surprisingly, since he's in the business, one of the things was talk radio, and he promised that at least he would be there until he couldn't be there anymore. and that in order to protect talk radio, one of the things that we should do, is resist the boycotts that always come towards conservative voices in the media. They've done it to Rush for 30 years. Unsuccessfully, I might add. And they've done it to Tucker Carlson. They've done it to Sean Hannity. They go after the money. They go after their sponsors with the idea that if they can get rid of the sponsors, they won't have any money, so the networks will get rid of them. Well, it hasn't worked, and if you don't support it, it won't work this time. In fact, Rush said one of the things that we probably ought to start doing is our own type of boycott. If you see somebody like GoDaddy, who just last week deplatformed AR-15, a reputable gun site, then maybe we need to start boycotting some of these large corporations, and certainly the people that are out to silence the voice of conservative America. And the second thing that Rush said that we should look forward to in these days to come, to stave off this attack against our rights, our freedom, is the church. And I thought that was rather interesting, a little surprising. Rush said it's time for ministers to grow a spine. In other words, get a backbone and start telling your congregations that you're not going to back down, that you're going to stand up for human God-given rights no matter who it is out there attacking you. And if you've watched this program or checked out our website at all, ChristChurchOfTheHolyWord.com, you're probably familiar with the concept of the 4 hidden dynasties. We have, if you aren't, we have a great Bible study on there, totally free. Just go on Christ Church of the Holy Word and check it out. But those of you that do will realize that the 4th member of that group, the 4th hidden dynasty of the Bible, which is the 4 hidden dynasties of Satan in the end times, because they are the dynasties he will use to attack Christians and bring forth his new religion, is religion itself. We have the first 3 are education, politics, and the economy. The 4th is religion. And as we see the first 3 in full array this last year, I mean, they're out there, they don't have a mask on anymore. Religion is still pretty low-key, and we haven't seen too much out of the dynasty of religion. I mean, we've had ministers that support same-sex marriage. In fact, we even have a denomination that ordains gay priests and performs same-sex marriages. But pretty much we haven't heard too much out of religion. I'm telling you, we're on the clock, folks. The time is ticking away, and I believe in the next few months we're going to see some radical things coming out of some sectors of organized religion. In closing, I'd just like to remind you that when all of this started, the swamp thought that they could separate Trump from his voters, and they have been hammering him with accusations of everything from he's a Nazi, he's a racist, he's whatever. But it hasn't worked. They haven't separated him from his voters, and I don't think they're going to. And I encourage you not to give up on this. We have a ways to go, and no matter what, we know this is in God's hands. He is in total control. His will is what we should be praying for every day to be fulfilled. It's in God's hand, and I pray that God's will be done. So with that being said, God bless you all. I hope you're doing okay. Your family's all right. Remember, bottom line, folks, in these end times, the elect will forge the path to the Lord.